Okay, I tried to do a live stream announcement that I was going to do live stream at 1, but what happened? I'm sorry. I'm like this morning, this afternoon. I'm sorry, it's afternoon, isn't it? I'm not fully awake yet. I've been wanting to talk about a couple things, and for a long time, some of them have been brewing. First, I just need to apologize to you guys. I have been so triggered the last 2 weeks. I've been triggered the last week because we had Halloween, All Saints Day, All Souls Day. And every year for me, that's rough because my father died in November. Hey, Tamara. And he died one November in 2000. Well, excuse me, 1999. He didn't die in 2000. And it's always rough for me this time of the year because I think about my father a lot. He and I, hey, Carolyn, used to go clean up the family tombs and gravestones on All Saints Day and bring a picnic lunch. It was an all day thing we just always did. And here I am living on the other side of the world, unable to carry on his tradition. And I know nobody will. So that every year I get weird around that. Add in the recent plagiarism that I found, somebody using my story, and some of the other things that have gone on, and I'm just triggered all over the place. And I don't like to be triggered. So I apologize if I was acting unhinged. I'm sure I was in some ways. So there's a lot of things I wanted to talk about. Breaking news. Amy Duggar King apologized to Backwoods Barbie. I don't know if you saw the video. Amy Duggar King posted a video. I don't remember if it was on Instagram or what. Hey, Becky. Hey, Carolyn. Another Carolyn. Carolyn Wilson, Carolyn Somerville. Both Carolyns. Hi. Amy posted a video mocking. It was clear she was mocking Backwoods Barbie because she actually said some of the same phrases and words that Backwoods Barbie uses a lot in her videos. I don't have anything against Backwoods Barbie. And I'm very happy that Amy apologized to her. It was the right thing to do. I don't like the fact that Amy tried to say it wasn't about, oh, Carolyn, that it wasn't about Backwoods Barbie, but it was pretty clear it was. It was a call out and very poorly done considering that Amy Duggar King has all this scripture on her Twitter wall. It's just contrary to what she says she believes in to go after someone like that. Carolyn, your daddy, my daddy is buried near City Park. New Orleans and me, yeah, I've got the ancestors in St. Louis 1, St. Louis 2, St. Roche, a lot of different cemeteries all over town. The Catholic ones, because the whole family is Catholic. Now, my father is buried in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he lived and where I spent many years in the old-fashioned, one of the old-fashioned cemeteries in Baton Rouge. Is not as old as the ones I just mentioned in New Orleans, but he was buried in, I'm trying to think of the name of the I don't know, it doesn't matter, but he's buried in Baton Rouge in one of the old ones, old cemeteries. So when I go down there, I clean his tombstone and put flowers out, and it's never around this time of the year, unfortunately. Okay, so, and it's interesting with New Orleans because everybody's buried above ground. Oh, he's buried in a Catholic cemetery. I'm pretty sure I probably know which one, but I'm pretty sure that my old brain is not going to be able to spit out the answer. Because here I couldn't even come up with the one my father is buried at. And the Rose is the first part of the name, is the only thing I remember. I know where it's at. It's off North Boulevard in Baton Rouge, but there it is. I have a daughter left buried in Washington State. And it bothers me she is there alone, even though I know she isn't there. Hugs, ladies. Carolyn Somerville, you are exactly right. And it disturbs me too that he's there by himself. And my stepmother never even bothered to get the tombstone engraved with the date of his death. So I don't know what to do about that. I called around and tried to find who had sold him the tombstone. I could not find out. My name is on a tombstone there. Because when they bought the family plot there, they just put everybody in the family, but I won't be buried there. I've already told my family cremation, scatter my ashes, and I've given them an exact location. I don't want to be buried. That's for other people. And that's not for me. And after watching some of the cemetery videos on YouTube, I'm glad I've made that decision because it's not good what happened to some of them. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm going off the deep end because of my stupid drugs that I take for my nerve problems and the nerve pain. They make me go way off the deep end. I want to talk about, and this kind of goes with what was going on with Backwoods Barbie. I want to talk about creator versus creator hate and all the fighting that has gone on in the KJ Truther community. It really bothers me that we have that going on there. Oh, Becky, yes, that's wild. That is wild. He died right on that day. Joanne, I fully understand that. My doctor has me graphing everything I eat, counting the calories, and looking at everything. And we're trying to see if that is related to pain and function and what's going on. They think I may have a touch of gastroparesis because of the nerve damage. So I'm dealing with that too. I'm dealing with pain and problems. I fell down the pool steps like 10 times earlier in the week. Today I did not. I took my time. And it's just crazy because, they like to tell you to exercise. But the reality is, if you have something going on where you can't walk, exercising is a very difficult thing. But I'm still trying to do it. Hey, Ginger Lee. Hey, Becky, and everybody else that I miss, the people I miss. So I'm going back to the whole KJ Truther subscribers fighting thing. Yesterday I was in recaps with Bobby the cat. Yeah, Becky, I do. Bobby the cat did a video premiere. Oh, what was that even about? I don't even remember. It was something to do with KJ. And he I was looking at the people in the actual chat. And it was interesting because there are a couple of creators in there that I don't like at all, that I think have exploited people, that have exploited situations just for money. There was one in there that used to fight with Real Entertainment News and now is some kind of big supporter of his, which kind of just blows my mind because I am all the infighting. That's what I'm talking about now, the infighting. I didn't fight with any of them. I just stayed in there and I talked to the people that I always talk to that I know are nice people, and I just stayed in there. Just wanted to say that's a choice. That's a choice not to fight with people that you don't agree with. It is really a choice and really a way that needs to happen. I've never called these creators out or said anything to them. I will say something to them if they stray into my live chat. I will say something and usually block them because I don't want to hear anything negative. And that's one of the things I'm realizing more and more as I get older. I don't really like negative things. I don't like fighting with people. I'd rather have peace, love, and understanding. And that's another reason why I'm so crazy. I don't like this KJ thing, even though I am part of it. And she continues to do things that just I'm not going to say irk me. They harm me. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when I discovered she was using my life story, it hurt. It hurt a lot. When I discovered how much she was lying about what she knew about the IBLP and she was getting so many things wrong, and I started explaining it, that hurts. It hurts when you know that you're pretty expert in something and somebody else who is not expert jumps in and tries to pretend they are and tries to say that you are some lesser being. It is neck breaking to keep up with the fighting. I saw that, Carolyn. I saw that Barbie said that Amy claims not to be close to KJ. I'm wondering if Amy is starting to back off a little now, because we do know that KJ has said a bunch of times that she was going to Josh's trial and she was going to be staying with Amy and she was going to support Amy. And then all of a sudden she said, "Oh, I'm not going." I think there may have been a falling out between KJ and Amy, and KJ may claim to be closer to her than she actually is. We've certainly seen that with Lindsay Chrisley and some other people she's claimed to be best friends with. And she's not really part of their world at all. Not at all. So there's that. So this is what the danger is in this. This is the thing I want to talk about. There's a lady on Twitter who goes by the name Everybody Burps. Hey, Noelle. I think she's backing out too. Carolyn, that's exactly what I think is going on. And I think she should back off because it's not healthy to be that attached to KJ and to go in on her things. There's a lady on Twitter called Everybody Burps who hasn't been around very long. Has been posting all kinds of stuff against KJ. A lot of his repeats of stuff that we have. I just spent the last week in Little Rock. Hey, Claire Bear, don't worry about it. So I think there's a great backing off. And then, like I said, this new person appeared. Everybody Burps. And I'm seeing creators going after her. People have made comments. They've gone after her. I've had people approach me and say, "Stay away from this person. She is a KJ. She's a KJ plant." A couple days ago, I took the time to actually talk to her in PMs. And here's the thing. She's a former KJ subscriber. She's a former subscriber who's got a mighty big axe to grind. And I don't blame her after hearing what her issues were with without a box of Kleenex. And I can call her that in good faith because last night she was rubbing her nose without a Kleenex, which just makes me crazy. I'm crazy about hygiene. When you're sick and you pick up stuff, you certainly start doing that. So anyway, she was saying all this stuff, and I was talking to her in Messenger, and it's pretty obvious why she's mad. She gave KJ a lot of money during the Ronald McDonald House thing. I don't know if you remember when Katie was raising money to make a donation to the Ronald McDonald House blanket wiper. She was blanket wipering and wiping with her hand. But KJ raised some money. Katie raised this money that she said she was going to donate to the Ronald McDonald House. And then she put up a Photoshop looking receipt. And this lady and everybody else, a lot of people doubt that KJ actually made the donation. Yeah, the Ronald McDonald House scam. That is the scam that Everybody Burps got caught in. And she'd given her a lot of money for that. She's given her a lot of super chats, a lot of different things. So she has run away from KJ. And one of the things that I have said several times, man, I'm itchy today. Probably because I got in the pool early. I was able to work out. Yay. Here's the thing. I did a big video months and months ago about how we should treat people coming out of the KJ community, because there are going to be people that are going to realize what's going on, and they're going to come out and they're going to be so hurt and so broken that they're going to need a little extra care. They're going to need us to handle them with kid gloves and treat them with love and respect and kindness. Everyone Burps is one of those, and she has definitely been hurt. She is undergoing cancer right now. She's going through it. And I have nothing but respect for that, having gone through cancer myself. And also, I'm just going to say, when my asthma's gotten super bad and they've run out of treatments, you know what they put me on? Chemotherapy. Oh! So I am, unfortunately, these lids are next to useless on these things. It's spilling all over the place. Anyway, I know what that's like. It's not a fun process. It messes with your emotions. It does a lot of different things to you. They need time. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like having to get deprogrammed. She preys on the hurt and broken. Exactly. It's like call programming. Oh, I said the C word. It's like being deprogrammed from a high demand group. It really is. It's like the stuff we go through when we leave these quiverful churches. It's like the stuff that Heather Heath was talking about in her book. Um, Becky P, that's why I'm talking about this, because I've read some creators that have gone after her and said, oh, she's KJ, she's a KJ, blah, 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 blah. I don't think so. You know, back when KJ first got sued by Tati Westbrook and Natalie arrived, I was nothing but kind to Natalie, even though there were a lot of people that were not. Why? Because I would rather be kind to somebody and find out later that they were not who they said they were, rather than be hostile to them the whole time, because you just don't know. And you don't know what people are struggling with. You know, I'm very open about my struggles. I always have been. Because for me, that's the only way that I know how to be. I know that if I put on the fake facade like I did in my old church, things just pile on and I end up in a wrong place. That's why yesterday I took the majority of the day away from Twitter and all social media and just did other things. And it was such a good thing. So today I've done way less social media. I got to work out. I'm getting ready to go finish putting together a king size quilt for my bed. California king size. And I have 50 million paintings going on right now. So I know we love to say, bless your heart in the South when we think people are being disingenuous. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to be kind. Like I was yesterday in the recaps with Bobby chat. I didn't say anything ugly to anybody that I didn't agree with. And there were a pile of people in there that I know are scamming people. But here's the thing. If you expose another YouTube creator for their stupidity, and their not just stupidity, let me retract that, not stupidity, but their ways where they're trying to make money, the only thing that will happen is their stands will get upset and attack you. And that's not what you want. You don't want to upset everybody. So it's better just to leave those people alone. Karma catches up with all of them eventually. Almost all of them get found out. And I'm just sitting back going, yeah, I knew that. That's why I didn't interact with X, Y, Miss X, Miss Y, Miss Z. And I always want to err on the side of kindness. And I know that that's not my natural tendency. A lot of times when people show up and they say and do these things, I just want to get out of here. You know, GTFO, I want to say that, but I can't. Because in this community, we may be missing someone who is genuinely very broken and very hurt, that needs the kindness of all of us. So that's really all I wanted to say. I did want to say, don't hate on anybody like that. Don't throw hate at any creator or their subs. You're just going to add to the problems. Hey, Christo fans, you're going to add to the problems. There are a lot of people out there that like to use mental illness as an excuse. We don't want to do that. We don't even want to call people out for doing that, because mental illness is pretty serious business. And it's no excuse for those behaviors, but there's been so much wrong things said about mental illness, especially in the CULT I came out of, where they said it was demons, that we don't want to add to anybody's problems. We genuinely don't. So that's really all I had to say today. Well, let me see. What else was there? There was something else, I think. Oh, I wanted to say Steve McRae is having a fundraiser. Love him or hate him can be a symptom. Yeah, I guess you're right. It could be a symptom. And there are certainly enough of us out there that struggle with things. I'm gonna encourage anybody that struggles to seek out help. There's always good therapy available out there. You may have to go to a couple of therapists to find the one that's the right click with you, but I'm a big believer in therapy after leaving my old cult because it really helps. YouTube does need to be a happy place. Watching kittens again. Christoph, and I am all about watching kittens. I watch a lot of animal videos. I love bird videos. Everybody comes with a story. We have to be understanding to a point. If it gets out of control, take it offline. Encourage points of contact. Yes, Julian, exactly. And that's where I am with all of this. And that's why you're not going to see me fight with creators. Even that time I said something about Dan at Faces of the Forgotten, and his stands went nuts and came in here, and I was actually trying to say what I had to say kindly. I didn't like the fact that he was filming in Catholic cemeteries in New Orleans. Well, there are even signs up about it. And it's one of the reasons why St. Louis 1 and 2 are closed. It's because of so much destruction, people coming in not respecting, running all over the graves, the whole 9 yards. It's just awful. I find that is just awful, awful, awful behavior, and I'm going to say something about that every time. But I don't care how kindly you try to address some of these issues with some of the other creators, you can really inflame their stands. So that's why I say no hate. Don't throw hate or shade at anybody and go fight them. Okay. And why are you speaking in Russian? My husband's not here. My Russian's not that good anymore. So long story short, that's just it. We just have to be halfway kind to people, I think, and listen to their stories. I'm going to keep talking to everyone, Burbs, because I think that she's really in a bad place. And like I've said, she's undergoing treatment right now, and I have a few things I can help her with in that. Look, if any of you ever have to go through chemo or radiation, hit me up for best ways to handle things like chemo feet. I get chemo feet every time they give me chemotherapy. That's when the chemotherapy comes out of the bottom of your feet and it tears up the skin, something awful, and you start having crazy nerve pain. There are ways to deal with that actually work pretty well. I don't know everything in this world, but there are a few little things I have some knowledge of, like the IBLP and just about every other church that is involved with Quiverful. There's so many Quiverful people that are deconverting, and the deconversion, it is horrible. It's horrible and well, but there are ways to deal with it. So all of this, and it's kind of funny because there I'm thinking about chemo feed and the chemicals they give you in chemotherapy, and I'm thinking, that's kind of like what we're talking about here when you're coming out of these toxic places and you're coming out of high demand groups. The poison that they put inside of you from some of the not true things, it's going to come out somewhere. It has to. You can't just shove it under a rock and pretend it doesn't exist. You have to get it out. And sometimes that is painful and horrible. Hey, Kentucky girl. So don't worry. We've just been talking about better ways to handle. I'm trying to talk about better ways to handle disagreement in the YouTube creator world. You are just not going to have a neurostim for nerve pain. It's not working today. Think about turning it up. That hurts too. Joanne, I'm sorry. I've had those before too, and it is no fun at all. I'm not a neurostim, but electronic stimulation devices to turn off pain. For me, pain is my constant companion. Half my body feels like it's waking up from being asleep. It's constant pain, jittering like this. And some days it wears you down and you want to snap at people, but it doesn't benefit anyone. I'd like to see, I actually have a pile of notes. I wrote about this some time before when I was talking to Steve about this. I'd kind of like to see a YouTube standard of behavior. And that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, standards of behavior. We have a lot of people on YouTube that are claiming to be journalists or reporters, and they are coming up with news and getting that news out. Here's the problem with that. Here's where I have my problems with that. And I don't consider myself even a reporter at all, even though I wrote for Pathos for 10 years and I wrote about a specific subject. And I've written for the local newspaper. I've written for the newspaper a couple of times when we were overseas. I even got an article in Stars and Stripes once. So I've always written. I've been published all over the place under different names. Only recently have I been comfortable enough to start publishing under my own name. So here's the thing. If you're a journalist, you really can't call yourself that if you haven't been through journalism school, if you haven't taken journalism classes. Pathos used to have this document called The Best Practices. It's a big document. I wish I had my old computer because it was on there. And it was all about ethics and journalistic standards. So I'm thinking that people that report on news stories, they need to be held or use the same journalistic standards that actual journalists use. There are lists of these things, and I'm going to post one in my comments. I'm also going to post a link to Steve McRae's fundraiser for the lawsuit against Katie Joy, because she turned around and sued him, and now his bills have doubled. So he needs some donations. I think she wiped her butt with it, if you want to know the truth, Clem, because I don't think she's used it ever. And that was a big problem with her at Pathos. She just would not obey the rules there. She just kept posting defamatory things without having any backing. And you can't do that. You're never going to last very long in a news organization if you do that. At one point, Pathos was part of the Time Warner group, and a lot of us ended up with our pieces in Time Magazine online. So while we weren't per se journalists, there was a duty to be accurate. Julian, I am not surprised. You really should, because if you don't, you end up blurring the lines. You end up doing these things that I'm seeing people doing, not just KJ, but others doing as well. And it doesn't benefit anybody if we start doing that crap. Anyone see the corrections she had to make on Instagram about the brow cousin? No, I didn't see that. But I haven't kept up with her. Steve's channel, he does the Great Debate Community, I think is the name of his. I've gone a couple of times. I like Steve. I like him a lot, but his channel is not my cup of tea. And it's not because I don't like him or his style. It's just the things they talk about just don't appeal to me very much. I'll go in there every now and then. There's so many creators out there, so many great creators, that I have trouble keeping up with everything and everyone. I didn't realize how awesome Claire was until the other day when I did the Am I the A-hole with her. And I will definitely be listening and watching. She didn't need to go to the family tree history in her life. It wasn't necessary, and she confused herself. Well, she tends to do that. You know, she also tends to believe the last person she talked to. And that's how she's given out a lot of incorrect information. And the other day when she was screeching about she had a exclusive with the Duggars about Oprah being told that there was stuff going on, not an exclusive. This has literally been a published rumor in Duggardom going back to 2007. That's how far back that one goes. Steve's topics make my head hurt. I work all day and I can't work to listen to. I'm the same way, Christoph, man, the same way. So some of the things they talk about are so esoteric and intellectual that it's like my little women brain does not get it. She was getting the CULTs mixed up. Oh, yes. Well, she does. She does that. And she doesn't know anything about that kind of thing because she wasn't raised in it. She didn't become one as an adult. the church that she described going to, the rock and roll church, literally a term I've never heard. Now, contemporary worship, I've heard that term many a time, but as far as a rock and roll church, no, that doesn't exist. She gets all of that mixed up. She has made so many comments about the IBLP that aren't true. I've been waiting to see when she's going to interview this guy I was talking about who runs his own little ministry where he tries to help people coming out of the IBLP. I want to hear what he has to say. Some of the info and Cody's job is Google search investigate. That's true. And she will do that to a certain extent. She really has no concept of any life but hers. Kentucky girl, I don't think she's had much life experience. I'm just going to come right and throw that out there. I'm 61. I have lived the life. Lived the life from being a child in New Orleans to being thrown out of my parents' home when I was 15, living on my own, living on the streets a couple times as a kid, getting married to someone much older than me that was terrible, who abused me. I had to get out of the marriage very quickly, running away with a baby and a suitcase under one arm, to working on my degree, putting everything first, everything last except my daughter and my education, and going through all of that, then working, having a working life, having a career, meeting my husband, marrying him, having kids, the whole 9 yards. And I've lived all over the place. I've lived in Germany. I've lived in South Louisiana and all kinds of different places. I lived for a little while in various places my husband was stationed, because he was in the military as a military intelligence when we met. We lived in Germany. We lived in the greater DC area, Northern Virginia. Now we're living in Costa Rica. It is what it is. I've lived a full life. And I don't think she has. I think she's lived a truncated life. And I'm not really sure why. I mean, that's kind of the question of the day. Why? Why? Because she does take pieces of other details of other people's life and she lives on them. And I'm not really sure what payoff she's getting from that, except that she gets more and more attention. I think if you're living that kind of life, she may have been in a situation when she was a child where she didn't receive enough attention from her parents. That could well be. She has siblings, maybe they got more attention than she did, at least her brother. I don't know. We could debate that all day, what the actual cause is. Was he in CID? My dad was. No, Will, he was actually in active listening. He was expert in Russian language. He was a linguist. A Russian linguist. He spoke German real well, a little bit of Czech and some other languages. He picks up languages like that. He used to know Igbo quite a bit. He used to speak whatever it is they speak in Indonesia, I guess Indonesian. He had a life where he grew up living all over the world. So it's not too surprising that he likes to visit everywhere and everything. And sometimes I don't go with him. Sometimes I'm like content just to sit where I am. We have an upcoming trip in January to Arnall with friends, and they're going to climb the volcano. I've climbed that volcano before. I know that it's not climbable with a cane, so I'm not going to attempt it. I'm just going to sit there on the hotel balcony and watch the birds. They have the most beautiful birds there. And then they're going on to Panama and down to Peru and different places. And I'm just going to come back here and have a nice little time before flying off to see my mother in southern Louisiana. He's a guy with big vision. That's why we've done these things. She needed help from an early age. I would bet she was like this as a child. Stories to make herself important. Julianne, I would say so. And that fits with the whole idea that if you are a certain kind of mental illness, you actually have a very poor self-image. You feel like Nothing, less than nothing. So you make up these stories to make yourself feel inflated, to feel better about yourself. And part of that feeling better about yourself is putting other people down. If you can put other people down instead of lifting them up, you think it's going to make you feel better. The thing is, one of the big secrets in life that I discovered, that I learned through my old church, was one of the few things I carried out that was positive, besides the fact, don't take offense, because you can choose not to take offense over things. And I found that is really helpful. The other helpful thing that I discovered is, when you're feeling bad about yourself, one of the best things that you can do is help someone else. She invented friendship. With the Army. Yes, my husband was a 98 golf. That's a Russian linguist. And all he did all day was don headphones and listen to the Russians. We were in Germany, not too far from East Germany. Why do you think we were in the DC area when he was reassigned? We came down on orders for Alaska and decided that was it for us with the military. But I can't say enough good things about my husband. He is definitely, he's definitely a outstanding guy. I wouldn't have married him any other way. My church shunned me, and I went into depression and then rebelled. Julianne, that happens. That happened to me when I was shunned from my old church after we left. I got very depressed, and I went and got therapy, and it was the best thing I could have done. But part of me went into rebellion for quite some time. Do you think that surprises God? I don't think so. The fact she invented two friendships, oh, that's crazy stalker behavior. Mark David Chapman level crazy. Yes. And Carolyn, I actually have like 6 or 7 books in the works. I'd written one. I got all the way to the end and I was going to publish it. I had a publisher and everything. And then the family of the murder victim asked me not to. And I had to respect that. But I learned a lot when I was doing that book. I learned a lot. I had no idea that the FBI actually has a long haul trucker serial killer division. I had no idea. That is the problem. That is the problem, Will. I'm afraid she's going to take people down with her. And that leads me back to our poor everyone burbs. She is hurting. I think that some of us just need to treat her with some kindness, because she's coming out of it, and it is quite something. Quite something. So yeah, and I'm going to tell you something more about the book writing thing. I started writing when I'm moving to Costa Rica, and the pandemic happened. Everything here changes every couple of weeks on how they're handling it, what happens. Like, one of the big changes they made is you can bring a car to up to 2 cars and all of your household things here, and they won't charge you aduana or customs on them, customs taxes. They threw it out of the window. Do you know how much we paid in taxes bringing our older car here? Oh my goodness. And my husband's motorcycle and all of our things, it was quite costly. I think the aduana ran every bit about $12,000, and now they've thrown that out the window. So every week things are changing. So I cannot definitively finish that book. Kentucky Girl, you're right. Yes, there are a lot of missing women around truck stops. That is true. And that's what I think may have happened to this girl, Caroline Cole. I think there was some kind of sex trafficking, something went haywire, involved truckers and truck stops, and she was dumped. I really want to read one. Noelle, I actually have something I'm working on that I might be able to get published. I started working on my story just like Heather Heath, and every time I sat down to seriously write out what happened to me, I was triggered left and right, left and right, left and right, just super triggered about everything. So what I did then was I took my info and I started writing about the people of my old church and the different categories of people there were, and I did it in a fun way, because so many things happened there that were so funny And not just funny, they were just out there. They were just out there. I look back now and I laugh at some of the things that happened. I laugh at all the crazy stuff. So I'm doing a kind of a semi comedy now because it is funny. Like we had a guy who in my book I call him um I have been calling him Jeb Foghorn because he wanted to have the gravitas of Jeb Stuart and he was all about Civil War. But he came across more like poor old Foghorn Leghorn in those old Warner Brothers cartoons. Sir. I say, son, what you got there? I'm not good with accents, but that's how he really came off. So I started writing about him because he did some really funny, weird stuff. Like he decided to quit the church. The church had a big thank you for him. The pastor got up there and gave him $100 gift certificate somewhere. They gave him a $100 fruit basket with every gourmet item in it. And then the pastor said, and by the way, I am leaving. And the second he said that, Jeb Foghorn standing there clutching his basket of goodies says, oh, I'm not leaving. He took back leaving, even though this was his leaving party that we were having up at the church and everybody was thanking him and they were giving him gifts. He took it right back. Took it right back. It was pretty crazy. And didn't give any of the gifts back, which I thought was kind of tacky. If you change your mind about leaving and they've given you $100 gift certificate, give that thing back. You really don't have. And here's the funny thing about him too: when the church imploded and the building and the grounds were sold to an Almoller Plant Baptist church, Jeb Leghorn was one of the guys that walked away with a huge check. They split up the cost of the church that they sold among the elders. All the elders got paid. And that's the stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about Jeb Leghorn and some of the crazier things that happened. Because some of it is just wild. The boy who cried masturbate. Then we had the time they tried to exorcise a kid that was merely stoned, and the time that pastor felt that the ceiling. Julianne, that was a very, very, very good idea not to share it with her, because that's why she picks up these things and says, if you have a story to tell me. I want to hear about your RAP, your CULT, your whatever. Because I keep saying it, she's a vampire. She's an emotional vampire. She gets off on these things. I'm not even sure what that looks like or how that even works. Because I just don't understand it, because it's not a normal action of a decent human being. It's just not. I just have to say it. And right now, she's about the only one that I am fighting with in my life. Even people I've complained about here, like my neighbor down the street that has tried to co-opt my husband. We finally had to come to Jesus with her too, and we're all still friends. And then there's the crazy lady that stoved in my gate. We're still friends too. She hasn't come over much because I think she knows now that I sent her the video of her bashing in my gate. I sent her a bunch of stuff, and she still denies that she hit the gate. Or the guy whose car we stored for almost 2 years. I watched karma catch up with him. And that's what I want to say about not just KJ, but everybody else in your life that is giving you trouble. Don't worry about it. Karma catches up with people eventually. It just does. I've seen it too many times. This guy has not had the car running a day since we turned it back over. We used it for almost 2 full years, and we never had an ounce problem with it. Plus, we had it worked on once or twice when it seemed like it needed it to pass inspection. So I think he's having a karmic realignment, big time. You give everyone a fair shake and then believe them when they show you who they are. Exactly, Noelle. You have to do that. You absolutely have to. And if you're suspicious of somebody, like you're suspicious of everybody burps, I mean, then wait and see if they're going to show you who they are, because everybody does eventually. I'm very convinced of that. Long time ago, I did a piece for NLQ where I said said to do exactly that, that everybody tells you who they are eventually. You just have to keep your eyes peeled. And there's no harm in waiting to see who they are before you interact much. It just takes time. It absolutely does take time. You don't, and that's why I think you don't hurt people. This is why you listen to people and you try to be understanding about their stories, because we're all the walking wounded. Everybody in this world is. I mean, that's the thing I observe. I know my husband is. He had a crazy relationship with his overachieving father who treated him like dirt, even though he could speak all these languages. He had an MBA. He had all these positive things, these really big things that he did. But he always felt, comparing it to his father's PhD and the vet school he set up, and him teaching in Indonesia, teaching in Russia, teaching in Nigeria, teaching in St. Kitts, he could not line up against that. That his father did everything perfectly. Well, his father did not parent him very well. I can tell you that. And I actually told the old man that when he was getting on to my husband. I said, you have no right to talk about his fathering because he did such a crappy job with this one. And shut him up. I don't have hate for what happened to me. Julian, I don't either. It took me a long time to get to that point. I still have some places where I have PTSD. Obviously, I discovered that when I started trying to write a book about that. Yeah, you have to forgive people. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. If you don't forgive people, you're just hurting yourself. That's one of the big things I've learned in life. That's why I said don't take offense. Now, I've taken offense at Katie Joy, but I have forgiven her 2 or 3 times over, and I'm probably have to forgive her 2 or 3 more times because some of the things she says and does are so incredibly triggering because of what I went through and what, I'm still kind of dealing with a little bit. It's so hard sometimes, though. You are exactly right. And, in those times when you can't forgive somebody, I always find it's useful to pray or send out to the universe, I'm not there, but I want to be there. Please help. Help me forgive them. Help me get to that space where I can forgive. Because that's really hard sometimes. Oh my goodness, I'm rambling about all kinds of stuff that I never intended to talk about. But forgiveness is it's a strange animal. I'm just going to say that right there. One time I was meditating and it dawned on me, love may make the world go round, but forgiveness is the oil that makes that even possible. If you don't have forgiveness, love can't come in and do the things that love needs to do. And with that, she honestly does not care. She steps on. She doesn't care. Noelle, same. Who throws their 15-year-old child out in the street? Who does that? I've never done that. I have one of my children that I knock heads with frequently. We go through periods of time that we don't talk to each other. And we're going through one of those right now. But she's still my daughter, and I would still help her out if she was in a desperate situation. But I know there's more forgiveness that needs to take place between her and I. There's forgiveness I need to do with my mother. I've gotten better about that. I'm going to go see her in January. I was going to go this month, but that trip got canceled. So there it is. And I don't think that said that she's never sorry. She honestly does not care who she steps on. She doesn't care. And that fits what I think is wrong with what I think is wrong with her. I'm not going to come out and say this is the mental illness I think she has. But if you take all the things that you guys have said and you plug them into a search engine, it'll show you what illness that fits, because it definitely is definitely a pattern. It definitely fits an illness. And I think that keeping that in mind with dealing with her is very important. I feel sorry for her at this point because I know Todd Chrisley is bad enough where he's not going to back down. He's not going to try to settle. And I think Steve is the same way, and she said she's going to settle with both of them. She'll go to settlement. She said that before. She said, oh, I'm not concerned. I'm going to settle. You can't forge a settlement with people that have gone beyond anger and are red hot rageful with you. You just can't do that. She has nothing she can possibly offer Steve or Todd Chrisley. She did have something to give Tati Westbrook, and that's why that's settled. She loves to say that it shows that she's innocent of the charges. Nope. When you settle, you are caving. You're caving and saying, "Yeah, okay, I know I was some crappy person, and this is why I was a crappy person, and here's this." You don't get to go out afterwards and say, "I was totally exonerated." That's not how it works. These are things about spiritual abuse and all the fingers of it that KJ cannot understand. Noelle, that is the problem. That's the problem. She's never been through it. She has no idea what spiritual abuse is about. She's never lived through it. Survivors telling her their story of spiritual abuse are likely to end up with more PTSD and more abuse. Somebody who's never lived through that in any way, shape, or form, even a little bit, or been around it, cannot possibly have the conceit to think that they can heal this. Complex PTSD like that, it takes time. She was never spirited. She was just pretending. Yep. Settling is admitting guilt. And Steve probably would let her off with an apology and paying the legal bill. And I don't think that she's going to be able to pay the legal bill. I don't think that Todd Chrisley is going to be able to get anything but to take all of her social media accounts to have them given to him. And since all of them seem to have a financial dollar amount I looked up, I think that's probably going to be what he's going to do. And while I hate to see somebody going through all that, I think it would probably be the best thing in the world for her. Let her hit bottom and then come right back up. That needs to happen. He should take her play button. Well, I think that he should, but I don't know that he can do that legally. I don't know. I think that he should. But finding out that she had stole parts of my life story about leaving my old church was one of the biggest knocks I've had in a long, long time. Keemstar took somebody's play button. Oh my goodness. She will only understand when she hits rock bottom. You are exactly right, Joanne. And I hate to think of anybody getting hurt because when you hit rock bottom, it does hurt. Been there, done that more than once. But you learn things, and hopefully you learn better when you climb out again. And when you hit rock bottom, the good news is if you'll roll over on your back, you're looking up. You're looking in the right direction. So you can start planning on getting out of that thing. Wow, he did. I don't keep up with it. He took Romeo Lacosta's. The judgment was legal fees, a smaller fine, and his play button. That play button, that would kill her, I think. Well, it would kill her pride. And that may happen. Steve may ask for it for all we know. But here's what I do know. These kind of legal things, they take years and years to resolve. I'm not looking to see there's going to be any big, quick resolution on this. I haven't gotten any more emails from her attorney telling me to preserve all of my conversations with her, of which there are none, because we used to talk on Messenger and she deleted them all because I went back and tried to get them myself and she deleted them all. The only ones I got were the last one I had with her where I took screen caps, and everything beyond that was gone. Now everything is gone. So there's nothing to preserve. There's literally nothing to preserve. So the document was meaningless she sent me. And she asked for any notes that I was taking, the possibility of writing a book, said that I had to turn them over. I don't have to turn notes over, my personal notes over to anyone without a court order. And that's what it's going to take to make me turn those things over. Anyone want to know how long Keemstar's legal battle took? I don't know. I've never kept up with Keemstar. In fact, I didn't really pay him any attention until this recent thing where I just kind of laughed at some of his videos he made. Everyone thought the Tati lawsuit would change her behavior. It did. It got so much worse. I agree. I waited for my husband, and we're so much stronger for it. Did you wait for him to get out? Our so-called power play seriously failed. Noelle, yes, that was stupid. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. What she did, she sent us all those emails. And like I said, I can't save the correspondence because she took it down. Now, there is correspondence between I and Steve, and 99% of it doesn't have anything to do with her. So she can't really go on that kind of fishing expedition. If I see a court order and it comes through the legal channels here in Costa Rica, of course I'll comply with it. I haven't deleted a thing. She has deleted quite a bit. So if they subpoena me, I'll just have to say, well, I did have those things and she deleted them. She deleted all of them. And that's going to make her look really less than a year. Okay. Romeo incriminating himself on the law, his own suit. Well, somebody already has, so there's that too. So I think it may be less than a year. I don't know. I'm waiting to hear. Oh, wait for him to hit rock bottom. Okay, okay. I understand. With spiritual abuse and leaving these abusive churches, it's very common for people to split from their spouses. I was lucky we got out together. He actually pulled me out because I was going to stay and let him go to the Methodist church. The kids and I were going to stay. But I got so much crap from everybody at the church that I was there and he was gone. And said, look, if you'd have been the right kind of wife, you would have stayed. You can't control anybody else. You can only control yourself. Now, you can gently nudge others to change their behavior, or you could do a carrot and a stick and make them change their behavior that way. Or I think what it's going to take for KJ, it's going to take the long arm of the law. It's going to take the beating to make it happen, the emotional beating. And I hate to even think about that because that's not pleasant or fun. Nobody gets any kind of fun with that. Oh gosh, yes, Noelle, it was incredibly hard my kids when we left. Let me tell you a little story about leaving. My husband and I had made that decision. We talked about it. I said, hey, what's going on here? Why are you going to the Methodist church? Why are you going to our service? And then immediately after worship, slipping out to go to the Methodist service. What's going on? And he told me what was going on. He was having so much cognitive dissonance, and people were treating him like he was some kind of heathen up at the church because he wasn't down with everything. It just got to be too much for him. And I listened to him and I said, you need to go to another church? Fine, go to another church. I'm not going to stop you. You have free will. I said, but I'm going to continue to go here. And we were all cool with that. He said, I figured you'd say that. I'm fine with that. So we were in agreement. So the very next Sunday, we went to church, the kids and I, not him. Okay. And I'd already started to fend off questions about his leaving right after worship from a lot of people who were saying, hey, what the hell's going on here? Why are you letting him go off? Where's he going off to? Blah, 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 blah. It's tough when dad and mom, yeah. And the kids and I said, no, we're not leaving. We all said it, all three of us. And that Sunday, I was up on the platform. We were doing a worship team rehearsal. I've been on worship team in almost every church I've been in. I have a pretty decent singing voice. I've taught voice before. So here we are. I'm on the platform. I'm rehearsing, microphone in hand. This is how we overcome, stupid stuff. We're rehearsing. And before the rehearsal started, the pastor came to me and said something about, look, I don't think that I'm comfortable with you doing home group any longer because your husband is going to another church. I only like to have married couples doing home group. You know that. And I said, I have no problem with that. If you take home group, it's going to take another thing off my plate because home group was its own set of awfulness. Home group was all the people who lived in our little town would gather. Now, I lived in a subdivision that had a swimming pool and a workout room and a giant party room. And every Wednesday, I had the party room for this home group. And I've had it in my house for a while, but we had some things happen that led me to believe I shouldn't do that. Problems. So it went down to the clubhouse. My husband nominally attended. He didn't attend every time. I would show up with my keyboards and do worship first. We do worship and then work through whatever. We had various things we were doing. And that was on top of Way Down workshop I was doing too, which that thankfully dropped when all that came out about Gwen. So I was fully involved. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was involved with the whole missionettes thing. I was involved with Way Down workshop. Too many things. I was one of the 5%ers. So I'm on the platform. I've had that conversation with the pastor. I'm up there singing. And I can see all the way down the hall to the front door because the sanctuary doors were open. And I see this guy I'm going to call Tom Smith. And I'm going to leave in the comments here a link to my Tom Smith story because it is one of the craziest stories you might ever want to hear. Tom Smith cheating, smoking pot, doing this, chasing me around with an upraised fist one time. I mean, crazy. Tom is kind of woo-hoo. So I could see the pastor talking to Tom, and Tom was a member of our home group, and I always struggled with Tom. So many ways. He would bring his guitar and start worship with his songs he'd written. Even though he wasn't asked to do this, and I was there with my keyboards, he would start singing his song he does. I like Jesus, Jesus likes me. I left, he stayed. We separated for 13 years. I promised I would wait. My son and I were attending another church, and they refused to accept him. Oh, wow, that's pretty crazy. So I watched, and Tom left the pastor, and he came in the sanctuary, and he started going from person to person to person to person that were sitting in there listening to us rehearse. He finally got almost all the way up to the front. My daughter was sitting in the front row, and she was like 13 at the time, maybe 13, 14 years old. And he was right behind her telling somebody all about my husband leaving the church and me being stripped of my duties hosting home group. And he was conflating it. Of course, he was adding all this other crap to it and acting like I had committed some kind of horrible ass sin and gossiping about it pretty hard. And I heard it. My daughter heard it. And I was on the platform with my microphone and I could see the tears that just came. She started crying. She started weeping really hard. Crying really hard. And I had to get off the platform and haul her in the ladies' room and talk to her and clean her up and all of that. And that was the moment my dislike for Tom Smith crystallized into hate, which I've had to forgive him too. And I've got a story about forgiving him at some point too. And I did forgive him, fully forgive him, even though I still can't forget some of the things he did that were just awful, that made my time in my church very bad. So my daughter is weeping and crushed. This guy who's a jerk that I know has told everybody a highly embroidered story about home group and about my husband and about myself. So I confront the pastor. I said, hey, didn't you tell me last Sunday that you would stand by me and you would stop the gossips? If the gossips started running their mouths about me and the kids because Jim is leaving, you would deal with them. And said, you need to deal with him, pointing at Tom Smith and telling him what happened. He said, that's your husband's job. And he walked off. And that was a moment I knew that I had to leave. And I had been getting words of knowledge in my prayer time telling me that I was to leave and go with my husband. And I was just like, no. So then I knew that was the end. And I left the church. I don't even think that I performed with worship team that day. I got off the platform. I grabbed my purse. I grabbed my daughter. My son was somewhere else that morning, and we left. The next Sunday, we came back, the entire family, not just me, and we asked the pastor to release us and send us on our way with a blessing, and he refused. He refused. He told me yet again that I should divorce my husband and stay with my kids, that I was not in God's will if I left. I left, that I was stepping away out of the protection. You remember the umbrellas of protection that the ATI has? I was stepping out of the protection. So, we actually went to somebody else that we knew from the church there who was a former pastor, who was a good guy, and he prayed over us and sent us on our way. And I never looked back. Now, I attended it a couple times as a visitor, and I had to forgive the pastor, which I did. But it was definitely a spiritually damaging place. It was soul destroying. And by the time the church sold to an Al Mohler plant, they'd gone down to about 10 members from a vibrant church that had like 300 members at one point. Know how that feels. Julianne, yes, it is the hard road. Forgiving is always the hard road. That's what I'm going to say. Forgetting and forgiveness are two different things. So there's that. So I wasn't even intending to talk about any of this today, but here I am. I'm talking about forgiveness and not forgetting, because you can't forget. If you forget, you leave yourself open for the same dumb thing happening yet again. And that was the thing that I always ran into with Tom Smith, was every time I would forgive him for some boneheaded stunt, he would immediately assume that that meant that he could do his border pushing crap on me again. And I was never going to allow that ever again. I haven't always kept good boundaries, and I've had to learn that since I left the church. I've had to learn what boundaries are and how to defend them. And it has happened now. Okay, you guys, have been over an hour, and I can feel my ability to speak is starting to go away. So I need to go on and get off this thing and use a little use the nebulizer over there for a while. Okay, you guys have a really great day. Wow, this is not at all what I intended to talk about, but it kind of fits, especially when there's so many creators that are maybe not behaving well. Okay, y'all have a really great day. Enjoy whatever's left of your day, whether you're in morning, evening, afternoon. I'm glad to hear that, Ginger. I'm glad that it was a great discussion, Becky, for you too. See you guys later.